Hello again, and for those who are new to this channel, hi, and my name is Tenchi.
My name is Yun.
And we are going to show you the Cabecera De Argao.
The municipality of Argao rests in the southern portion of the Cebu province. And ever since its founding in 1608, it has gradually turned from a sleepy fishing and farming municipality to a bustling tourist attraction.
Argao is located from the south, and on its south it sits Dalaget, and on the north sits Sibunga. On its west side is Alcantara, and on the east side is the Bohol Strait.
Let's jump right into the tour.
First stop, Puerta del Sur, or
Gate of the South. As you can see behind me is the Gate of the South, which leads all the way to the cemetery of Poblacion over there. This is one of the 4 entryways that were on each side of the perimeter, and only 2 massive gates remain of the wall that was constructed in the early 1800s as defense against Moro attacks.
Now we're currently here at the Puerta del Norte gate,
Which in front of it is the Museo de la Parroquia de San Miguel. So right here behind us is the Museo de la Parroquia de San Miguel,
where holy items and relics that date back to the Spanish colonial period are being placed there.
Unfortunately, we are not able to bring a camera inside for security reasons.
Welcome to the St. Michael the Archangel Parish Church of Argao. Look at this flooring. This here is actually original. This dates back to the Spanish colonization era of the Philippines.
The Argao Church is founded in 1703, which features 2-level structure imposing high ornate pediment and double plaster columns on its facade.
Outside the church, you can find one of these sculptures. And you might be wondering, what kind of sculpture is this? What is this animal? Well, this here is actually a lion dog, which is what you can usually find in the entrance of Chinese themed temples. They do this because it's actually a resemblance that they guard the temple. Like here, it's like they're trying to guard the church. And is it a bird? Because you can see wings here. Well, actually, it's birds. It's actually resembling Jesus. The mother bird is sacrificing her life by making her younglings eat her. Just like Jesus, he sacrificed his life just to save us all. This wall here has a name. It's known as the Via Crucis, which is also known as the Way of the Cross Wall. The plaza is bound by a short coral stone wall where processions start and end during religious and festive rites. The plaza contains 3 statues mounted on pedestals with lampposts. The plaza used to have clay tiles on its grounds, plus a big wooden cross mounted at the center. Adorning the stone walls are the 14 high reliefs of the Via Crucis, depicted using symbols on each station, which is unique and highly unusual in the country.
Behind us is the bell tower of the San Miguel de Arcangel Church. The bell tower consists of 9 bells.
The bell tower has 3 levels supporting a single large bell on the 2nd floor and 8 bells on the 3rd floor. The base of the belfry supports a square plan, while the 2nd and 3rd bases follow an octagon plan topped by a dome roof.
It is called the Puerta Real, and it faces to the beach, so that if King Philip enters, he could just enter the church just right this way here. And there is another reason why this church faces to the beach. That's because they'll act as a fort when the Moro raiders arrive and broke through the Puerta Marina. See this massive door over here made of wood. The whole thing will only open during festivals, and only these parts of the door here, they'll only open during the regular mass. And this is used for knocking. See, it works like this. Its massive doors made of hardwood planks and decorated with bronze rosettes. So now that we're here, let's get in. Church of Argao possesses one of the 14 remaining Spanish-era pipe organs and is one of 3 in the whole province of Cebu, and it sits on the 2nd floor of the church. On the ceiling, a mural done by 2 of the best church muralists during the time of the early 20th century. The first portion was portraying biblical manifestations of angels, was done by famous artist Carlos Avila. The other portion by the altar was done by Reynaldo Francia, depicts the victory of St. Michael over Lucifer. Here at their candle vendors are visible in front of the church, so you could buy them and light candles and offer them over there. So right behind us is the Puerta Marina,
Which is actually the first line of defense against the Moro raiders.
let's go there.
This place is already renovated. Did you know that every birthday of King Philip II, He would use this as his private walkway that would go from the sea, from the ship, all the way over here where the Grand Emperor was bodyguard.
And it's also said that up there is a brick that it said if you remove it, the entire arch would collapse. It is a structure made of coral stones towering beside the Capilla Mortuario. This gate served as a main entrance and also served as a watchover for possible Moro attacks. To preserve it, they left a part of it original, and we'll show you what it looks like from old photos.
This is what the Puerto Marina looks like before it got renovated, and this is what the Puerto Marina looks like now.
Here we are at the place which leads to the top of the Puerto Marina. The stairs going up to the top is actually really steep.
But due to safety reasons for the public, they decided to close it down.
Beside the Puerto Marina, you can find
Capilla Mortuario. So right here is the exterior of the Capilla Mortuario.
and take a look at all its splendor. Take a look at the sculpture just right behind me on the top. Did you know that actually has a meaning? Let me tell you what do they mean. The crown on top of the skull stands for life. The skull itself stands for death. The right wing on the right side of the skull stands for heaven, while the other stands for hell. The spear that is below the skull stands for the purgatory. And that is the meaning of the sculpture over there. This here is the interior. Now let me tell you about it while you look at it. It was used as the mortuary chapel of the St. Michael the Archangel Parish Church. The Capilla Mortuario was built around the 1700s during the Spanish colonial period. It served as place where the wake for the dead is held prior to the funeral. The Spaniards include the Capilla Mortuario in its plan to build a walled complex or a pueblo. When the cemetery was transferred to the nearby village of Looc, the use of the Capilla Mortuario stopped. It was then used as a leprosarium during the American colonial period. Only a handful of times were this used in these modern times. Welcome to the Casa Real, also known as the House of the Noble in English. And as you can see up there, it's under renovation.
And it is a fine example of a house made of stone, also in Bisaya, Balay na Tisa. It was also served as a cuarto and a prison.
But now being used as a municipal home. This place was built in the year 1608.
When Argao was founded.
The reason why this building is special, my father used to serve this municipality for 3 consecutive terms as the #1 municipal councilor, and he's also the youngest councilor during his time.
And our grandfather also served for the municipality as a councilor before becoming a vice mayor until the end of his term. This is the cuarto's window viewed from the outside. So as you can see, the design here is like a prison because that's what it used to be.
The exterior of the Casa Real.
This is Casa Real's hallway.
So the stairs right here is designed as Oro Mata Plaza.
Now here are some antiques in the second floor.
They're right here. All of this. This is the chandelier, wall lamp, dining table, hornohan for torta, wooden benches, native baskets, jars, clay pots, hablonan, and also many more.
Here is the Puntas de Telecom. This place ran from 1856 to the year 2004.
It has been running for nearly 148 years, and for those times it was used as a telecommunication line. Now it is being transferred to the ground floor near the main entrance.
This place used to be the mayor's office during the year 1967, and it is now being transferred to the new office building over there.
Right behind us is a view of the church and the Unity Plaza from the Casa Real's balcony.
Welcome to the Unity Plaza. The reason why it's so big is so that children can play and even people can have picnics here.
And it was also the place where the first ever public Wi-Fi was used in Argao.
Let's show you around. In the Unity Plaza, you can find these late Spanish and early American era cannons. These were brought here to the Philippines as another line of defense against Moro raiders on the wall.
This cannon is still fully functional, but for reasons they removed the fuse that goes in this hole right here.
So what we have here is the artesian community well, which is the only source of drinking water during its time.
And it also served as a social focal point where you could check out the latest news and gossip. It was also built with an octagonal shape faced with coral stone walls.
And also, this used to have free-flowing water during the high tide, and it used to have a staircase that leads to the spring. Presently, at night, it is going to be used as a fountain with lots of colorful lights. In the community park, you can find the statue of Dr. Jose Rizal, our national hero. As you can see at the Unity Plaza, there's a very large amount of space, which is perfect for family and friend bonding, exercising, and also for playing around. Here is the oldest lamppost in Argao, and as you can see, it says here 1927, which is the year the lamppost was erected.
This lamppost is no longer in use, but you can see it right in front of the Cabecera.
For us to understand more about the history of Argao, we need to understand how the Philippines was discovered by Magellan and the Spanish colonial period. Now let's begin. It was after the time the Spaniards discovered the Americas, and then new questions and new explorations were popping out. And one of those questions were this: do you think the Earth is actually round? That is what people thought about. But during that time, people thought the Earth was flat. And then Magellan came, and he asked the king of Spain if he can hold an expedition to go around the world to see if the Earth is actually round but not flat. The king agreed, but that's actually not his main goal. His main goal is that if the Earth is actually round, maybe he can go to the Spice Islands owned by Portugal and then get some spice and deliver it back to Spain. And that will also show proof that the Earth is actually round. With a fleet of 5 ships, they went all the way from Spain through the Cape of Good Hope and then into the Pacific Ocean. And then the Spice Islands, they reached the Philippines. They first landed in Homonhon Island in Leyte for supplies and Christianizing the locals. They did the same to Limasawa Island, but they did something to it as well. They put a giant cross on the island. Then they came to Cebu, where they meet the tribe leader, who actually welcomed them with open arms. He then asked them if he could help him defeat his rival, Lapu-Lapu, which they agreed. But they were suppressed, and then when they arrived back in Cebu for their failure, the tribe leader was very angry, and during dinner, he and his men slaughtered 30 men in an ambush. And then they went all the way to the Spice Islands, and they finally reached back to Spain, showing proof that the Earth is actually round. Years later, plenty of missionaries and explorers went to the Philippines for exploration, and soon the Philippines was colonized under the King of Spain and given its official name, the Philippines, by King Philip II. And during that time, there was plenty of slavery. They were using Filipinos as slaves in their own island, and the taxes are very high, while the nobility, the Spanish, they received either less or even no taxes. And this led to some rebellions. And not just that, they also discovered the city of Manila, which in turn became the new capital, which is from Cebu, is now being transferred to the north. And then more taxes placed in the Philippine Islands. The Spanish went to Bohol. They met a man named Dagohoy, who asked if they can Christianize him and his people, but they said no. And this led to one of the Philippines' longest rebellions,
which lasted nearly 85 years, which is called the Dagohoy Rebellion. So the Dagohoy Rebellion started when the Spanish tried to make Christians out of the Boholanos. Some even reported that a father and his son were destroying statues of Anitos by throwing them out of the house. Dagohoy was upset about that and told them to stop believing in Christ, but instead to believe in the Anito spirits like they always did. So then they burned down the cross of Jesus and slaughtered a few Spanish missionaries. But the Spanish were not happy about it and tried to suppress them. But then the Boholanos rebelled, and like many others, it failed.
But years later, they actually did a blood compact, which means the Boholanos and the Spanish are now bros. But after 300 years, Spain decided to colonize the Philippines. They were tired of all the slavery and taxes. And when is it going to end? Well, it happened. The Philippine Revolution happened and was led by Andres Bonifacio after the death of Dr. Jose Rizal. But guess who's also not happy about Spain? America, because Spain sunk the USS Maine in Cuba, which is actually a pre-dreadnought battleship. And because of that, they blamed the Maine on Spain, and the Spanish-American War happened. So now, Spain is dealing on two wars, and America decided to help the Philippines kick Spain out of their soil. And it happened on the Battle of Manila. With plenty of dreadnought battleships in their hands, they helped kick the outdated Spanish ships out of the Manila capital, which succeeded, and the Filipinos thought that the Americans were on their side. But what they thought was a real battle was actually a mock battle, which soon led to the Philippine-American War, which actually led to the American colonization of the Philippines.
In the 17th century saw the rise of only 5 towns. The district of Parian was organized in a town in 1603, followed by Boljoon in 1606, Argao in 1608, Barili in 1614, and Mandaue in 1638. The following century, 4 more towns and parishes were organized: Dalaget in 1711, Danao in 1742, and in 1744, Opon and Sambuan in 1784. Only a few towns were established in the 16th and 18th century because many places either suffered from destruction or decline as a result of Moro pirate raiders, or Christian villages were greatly affected by Menes. Over a century later, after Argao was established, the Spanish who were living in there decided to build a parish, which resulted to the parish right behind us over there. It is the San Miguel de Arcangel Parish Church, which was erected in 1788.
And that's the Spanish occupation of the Philippines. The front side of the legislative building, and on the right side of the Unity Park, you can find this tree, which is known as the Sali Argao tree. And this tree is what Argao was named from. And there are 2 stories of how Argao got its name from this tree, but we're going to tell you the real story. Let's hear from my brother Yuan.
The Sali Argao, which is this tree right here, used to line the coast of Argao, and Spanish observers, there were fishermen resting under those trees where they came back from long fishing trips and sometimes cooked their lunch and enjoyed their meal with other fishermen or their families. When they landed, they decided to name it after the tree, which gave shelter to the fishermen. So yeah, there's another story about how Argao got its name. It was because 3 foreigners went up to a local and asked, "What is the name of this place?" They pointed, but they thought they were referring to the tree. He didn't know what they meant, so he picked up a leaf for verification. Then they said yes, so they told him the name, and he said Sali Argao. One of them said El Pueblo de Argao. The other one said assuringly Sali Argao. And then the third foreigner got a memorandum and wrote Sali Argao, Argao. Then after that, when the Spaniards came, they named it after it because they spelled it wrong. That's how it got its name. And then when the Spaniards came back, they established a pueblo, which is where we're standing on right now, and they named it Argao.
And that is how Argao got its name when being occupied by the Spaniards. Well, now you know how Argao got its name. Thank you, Yuan. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write it down below. I will answer that. Don't forget to also like the video, don't forget to share, and please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you won't miss any of our latest videos.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.